Muy buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos a la primera charla informativa técnica sobre desafíos y oportunidades en la última milla. En esta charla se da en el marco del hack Última Milla. Les recordamos que este evento eh, está organizado en el marco del programa Transporte Sustentable de la GIZ en cooperación con la Secretaría de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales, así como con la CEMADET, con la Secretaría de Medio Ambiente y Desarrollo Territorial del Estado de Jalisco. En esta charla participarán dos expertos técnicos. El, el primer experto técnico es esta Litoa. Rebeca Litoa, ella trabaja en el Instituto Fraunhofer y va a darnos una pequeña introducción sobre los retos y y el potencial que tienen actividades en la última milla, así como va a introducir un poco un proyecto sobre una aplicación digital en bahías de carga y de descarga que se está actualmente realizando en Stuttgart. Eh, Además, también va a dar algunas generalidades sobre algunas metodologías, algunas variables de información para manejar y gestionar estas zonas de una manera adecuada, de acuerdo a toda su experiencia. Entonces, esperamos que también sea muy enriquecedor esta charla para todos ustedes y que realmente puedan obtener información útil para desarrollar su aplicación. Después de Rebeca, también le vamos a dar la palabra a Carles Sentis Ross. Él nos va a dar más detalles sobre las tecnologías que son usadas para la digitalización en zonas de carga y de descarga. Él es cofundador de Paclun, una herramienta digital para la gestión de estas zonas de carga y de descarga. Entonces, a continuación, le voy a dar la palabra a Rebeca. Rebecca, you can start with your presentation, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can see my slides now. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my talk will be in English as my Spanish skills are very low. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, dear ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to thank the research members, the network team, and the staff of the GIZ for inviting me to give an expert talk on, for sure, a very interesting but also ongoing important topic of sustainable urban logistics and how we can generate innovative concepts based on urban data. My name is Rebecca Littau. I'm a research associate in the team Transport Systems Innovation at the Fraunhofer Institute for Industrial Engineering, located in Stuttgart in Germany. Today, I would like to use this talk to present some current projects of ours, technologies and methods that we use daily, and the data that we incorporate in order to develop more efficient, more sustainable logistic processes within the urban space. I'm also very excited to get to know your current approaches in the Q&A after, and hope to stimulate or to trigger a fruitful debate. So which topics are important for us? How do we choose the accurate approach? And how do we test innovations that generate sustainable solutions? So we all here are aware of the several challenges occurring in urban areas, including the rise of e-commerce, the ongoing rise of vehicles supplying our daily lives, as well as the urgent matter of achieving climate goals. And most recently, due to the new factor COVID, all these challenges are even more enhanced, and we are even more urged to find suitable solutions. The focus of our work is mainly laid on logistic processes, on the so-called last mile. This means that we always start by taking a closer look at the underlying process, the actors involved, as well as their interests towards the topic in general. In order to get a broader view or a broader picture of the underlying challenge, we gather several information and data on current infrastructures, how areas or spaces are utilized, and which industries and businesses are also located within this area. Therefore, we use several methods and technologies. We scan open data and function kind of as an information management center, bringing all stakeholders that are involved together. Speaking from experience, we know that in order to successfully implement a logistics concept, a databases for decision making must be created. A lot of data can be taken from casual sources such as city planning offices or on-site inspections that we also regularly conduct. However, there are no figures available for some issues such as the flow of goods, the performance indicators of alternative delivery vehicles, and for this reason, we ongoing search for suitable data collection tools. So as you can see here on the slide, these are kind of the data points or the data sources we work with. So in the urban space, we have structural parameters, we have economic parameters for sure. We look at cross sections of road spaces. We look at slopes, at barriers. We look at the terrain in general, which is very important when it comes to electric vehicles. Especially here in Stuttgart, we have a very challenging terrain. So not every solution might work in every city or even in every part of the city. Of course, we look at the branch structures as well as company locations, as I already mentioned. Concerning mobility data, we look at traffic volumes, we look at the amount of vehicles, also the vehicle types that are occurring in the urban space. We look at their peak times, but we also take, of course, other mobility into account, as for example, open mobility and for example, pedestrian flows, accident spots, which are also very common when it comes to logistic processes, especially when we have a lot of bike users within the city and the infrastructure might not be as well as we would need it to be in order to have all these participants on the road. And of course, the core of our work is logistics data, which is the most challenging data part because it's very hard to collect data on this part. And of course, every operator has their own agenda and they have the data there, but it's also very powerful, this data. There's a lot of value behind of logistics data. So what we do is we connect to a lot of operators. We work with them very intense and work on a very trustful basis to also get insight into their data. But of course, we also find different collection techniques to help ourselves and to not be dependent from others. So we look at households or we conduct household and company surveys. We get delivery data from logistic companies, as I said, but we also look at the recipient structures. So we can identify like business to customer or business to business structures, which is very important because with this data together, we can generate an algorithm that at least approximately shows the demand of goods in the city or in specific actually streets of the city. So in the end, we combine various data and information to answer central research questions such as how can delivery traffic be recorded? How can flows of goods be quantified? Which quarter-specific delivery traffic exists maybe also in different quarters of a city? And which quarter-specific delivery concepts actually generate more sustainable results? As I already said, we cannot use one concept implemented in every city or in every quarter of the city, and it actually has the effects that we hope the technology or any other concept has. Quickly, I want to use the time to present also my team colleagues that I'm very happy to have in my team because our team consists of several experts within the field of logistics, data collection, and analysis. So we cover all dominant topics and methods observed within our field. And this includes our head of the team, Manuela Wohlhüter, who is our expert in spatial impacts of innovation, Lars Mauch, who is our top logistics expert when it comes to processes within urban spaces, Steffen Bengel, our chief of data collection methods and georeferencing data, Anne Gale, who is an expert within the topic of technology acceptance, a very important component within this field, and myself with the background in political science, focusing on data analysis and as well as stakeholder management. So before I go into the topic of smart loading zones, I think that's why you're here. I would like to just briefly present 3 reference projects of ours, which we think are very important and have a big drive within our region. The first one is Moby Dick. It's a project for the Ministry of Transport in our state, where we identify, collect, and structure relevant databases. So this is kind of our baseline project, where we work together very closely with cities, with 3 cities here, and identify the most important data sources for them, because they do have a lot of data, as you all probably know. But it's always a challenge to actually identify how this data can be used, especially when it comes to sustainable concepts within the urban space. So this is kind of our baseline project. This is our lightning project, where we work very closely together with the stakeholders that also are responsible for the city planning. Our next project that's actually already that actually ended last year. It's called Park Up. Here we address the intelligent use of parking space. Also, one big dilemma right now in a lot of large cities is that space is very restricted. Space is hard to find, especially for logistics operators to conduct their processes. So here we had the idea, or we designed an app or a solution, a digital solution for operators to book or to rent or lease themselves space within parking garages or within on-street parking spaces. So this was a very interesting project for us, because there actually are also on every parking space, we have peaks, and we also have a lot of unused space, especially in the night, where of course we do not have a lot of travelers due to nighttime, and actually this time is greatly used for logistic operators. So the idea was here to get them connected and for them to flexibly use the actual spaces there. And our focus here was also to develop a flexible pricing system for these spaces that actually is very context dependent. So what do I mean by that? Context dependent means that we have, as I said, climate goals we have to reach. We have a lot of pollution in our city. So the space is priced based on different parameters. Again, data that we analyze within the urban space. And in the end, you can see here a smart pricing dashboard that we created. I'm sorry, it's in German, but you can see on the left side this green button where it says in the end what the price for the specific time that you will use the space will cost you. Because of course, with parking garage operators, they also have an aim to keep up their prices and to also be financed through this project in the end. And this price is generated by all different kinds of parameters that we looked at in the city. So for example, on the top, you can see the general parking price also for us customers shopping in the city, for example. We can see how many spaces are actually free within the parking lot and parking garage. We can see how many places are already occupied, so how much spaces are free. We also put into this algorithm and could also create this this flexible price. Down here, you can see an analysis of the pollution indicators that are very important in German cities right now, which also indicate on a day where we do not have high pollutions, the space might be cheaper than on days where we have high pollutions within the city. On the right side, you can see the actual traffic flow within the city, which is also implemented into the algorithm. So we can see in hotspots days, for example, when we have a big football match in Germany, there's a lot going on. And when we have the Christmas season coming up, of course, everything not under COVID, but the price would then change in dependent of what the situation is in Stuttgart at the moment. And lastly, before I get to the Smart Zone project, a very interesting project as well is Smart Radl. Smart Radl focusing on cargo bikes, which is actually an upcoming trend in Germany. We have a lot of German cities that implemented cargo bikes, or operators have been implementing cargo bikes. Why? Because cargo bikes are very flexible. With a cargo bike, you can get into streets and you can get into pedestrian areas more easily than with, of course, a medium or heavy duty truck. And of course, it's also low emission or no emission in that sense. So this is also a very interesting project of ours. Here, of course, we again have the focus on data, because our task is to develop an intelligent route planning tool for the operators that use the cargo bikes. And this, of course, we also have to analyze what are the indicators, what is which roads are already or which roads give us the infrastructure that we need for cargo bikes. It's a pretty big topic in Germany in general, is all of the bike lanes now, especially during COVID. I think we have a lot of big cities worldwide that are trying to embrace the bike lanes in their cities, and this is of course a very great project to be part of. Also here, we always have we have our official agenda, we have our objectives from our client. But on the other hand, as I said before, we also try to ongoing develop our data collection tools. So also here, it's not just about like an intelligent route. We ourselves as a research team, we implement or we attach specific sensors to the cargo bikes. So we do not only have specific data, for example, on pollution from fixed stations, but we can also collect the data while the people are riding their cargo bike. And then we can collect how is the pollution in that specific area of the city, because also here we have different hotspots when it comes to pollution, of course, because of the traffic flow. And it's also a very ongoing discussion in Germany. It's also criticized a lot that only the data used within these fixed stations is not actually how it should be done. So this is, again, a tool that we try to develop to get more data. So now to the project, where also my project partners from Park and Load will follow after, the Smart Zone Stuttgart. So it's all about the digital loading zone management in our city. A very interesting project for us, where we actually now just started in November the pilot. So I will just give you a quick introduction into the scientific research that we put into the project, and then my colleagues will follow with more technical details on the loading, on the zone management. So as I said, the initial situation is still the same. We have rising commercial traffic, we have limited space within urban areas, and now with COVID, everything is even enhanced, and now even the no-touch rule in that sense, where we are not able to get into discussion, or we cannot receive our package from the operator directly. We need more solutions for these situations. And the idea of the project in Smart Zone is to digitalize the existing loading zones where operators already work, but to display them and to encourage them to use the app to display which loading zones are actually available at the moment, because we do have a lot of traffic occurring due to operators not finding the space they need. They have to park in the street, which of course then again has an influence on the traffic flow, which again then has an influence on the pollution within the city. So the core idea of this project, or the core task objective of this project, is to test the technology that Park and Load will present, and to see if it has the effects that we hope for, if it has the effect that people will find free spaces more easily, and that we can determine, or that we can that we can regulate the management system within the quarters more better, to find or to reduce emissions in our city. Our project objectives are that we implement and test. So we from Fraunhofer, we We are by Park and Lot side. We talk to all the stakeholders within the city. As I already said, it takes a lot of time to implement digital technologies in Germany. We have a lot of regulations that have to be dealt with. And of course, with our team in urban data, it's very important for us to also analyze the current situation, to analyze the situation during the pilot of the loading zones, and then of course also to show the city what values and what maybe still ongoing challenges occur from the implementation of the digital loading zones. Within the framework of the Smart Zone project, qualitative and quantitative survey and analysis methods are used to measure with the greatest possibility or the greatest reliability whether the digital loading zones trigger the expected outcome, or if there are other unforeseen effects as well. And the use of the data collection concept, which defines how, when, where, and how often data is on the actual situation. And in the pilot, we test the effects and collected then in this context, which data will bring us to or will give us a broader view on the situation. So what we do with our accompanying research is that we analyze the spatial and legal conditions. We analyze all requirements that are that are necessary to analyze before you can go into a pilot or introducing a new technology to a smart city, or let's say smart city. Then in the next step, we do an as-is analysis, as I already said, and we identify together with operators what are suitable areas to implement digital loading zones, because also here it's so important to always be in contact with the operators, because without the operators, we don't actually know where their problems are. And if a city just goes by themselves and decides, okay, these are the zones that we would like to test, and they're later on not used, of course, we will not have the effect that we would like to have when implementing a new technology. Then we, of course, we accompanied the implementation. We do a lot of publicity work. We talk to the operators. We talk to the accompanied companies that are located within the zones or near the zones. We go through the streets and we hand out leaflets and try to get the acceptance or try to get the attention towards the topic, but also especially towards the new technology, because it always takes a lot of work to get people into a new technology, not just the operators, but everybody in urban space. So when you implement a new technology, a new sign or anything within our streets, there are a lot of people that immediately notice it and they immediately want to know what is going on and if there is data being collected on them or not. So there's a lot of work behind that. And as I already said, we started now in November. The technology is implemented. The operators had already started. They have signaled that they would use it, even though we do have a lot of stressful weeks before us with Christmas, and even now with everybody at home ordering even more. But this is now the situation right now. So after we have implemented it, the technology, we will observe the situation until end of March for the first run. And then, of course, we will evaluate the pilot as Fraunhofer, and we will document all the analysis results. We will document how the zones were used, how the zones were accepted, and in the end, of course, evaluate the whole concept. So here again, I have a picture where you can see how this kind of works, how our role is. So we look at the content, the current situation. We have expert interviews, surveys. We look at the area. We have workshops with operators. Of course, we have the loading zone analysis itself as the main part of the project. Then we see what happens when we incorporate the park and load technology. And then, of course, we also measure the outcome again and then evaluate for the city. So why is data so important? As you can see in this picture, this is like this is one loading zone in one quarter of the city. We see here that there's a lot of information actually in this picture. So we see not just the operator, it's a common operator in Germany. We can also see how long is the loading zone. We see what is the regulation within this zone. And then here you can also see what is important for us, what kind of branches, what kind of companies are actually located here, because these are all indicators for us to retrieve the information that we cannot get. We don't know how the demand is in every specific street or in every corridor of the city. So this is all information that we gather in order to get a more deeper insight into the topic. So here, like a broad overview of the data that we collect and proceed, as I already said. So we identify the problems and potentials. We identify the areas for the pilot. We have the area analysis itself, and of course the delivery zone analysis. And what is interesting in this slide is that we rely on open data, on self-acquired data, and self-collected data. That is our way to hopefully get the puzzle together in the end and to really see the effects. Next to the park and load technology, as I already said, we want to test different, or we're always ongoing to testing different technologies. And in this project, we also test a parking lot sensor that is implemented on the ground. It's by Bosch. And then we also implemented camera systems, so we can also get more information on the vehicles that are used within the city. So here we can also build up with machine learning algorithms. We can do deep learning algorithms in that sense that we have this photo analysis. What is very important here, there are different sources of data collection that also lead to very different results in that sense, in the data sense. But combined together, it gives a very deep insight into the phenomenon that you want to analyze. And we had a lot of talk about the cameras, and cameras is always an ongoing thing, especially, I don't know how it is with you in Mexico or in Spain or everywhere else around the world, but in Germany, it's very critical debate installing cameras within the urban space. But these cameras give us the opportunity to catch the situation, but without recognizing any faces, or there's no privacy disruptions. So it's just a question of which technology and how detailed the technology is, and in what sense it can be implemented into the smart city. And here, before I hand over to Carls and Simon, I just wanted to show you a quick some few plots that we always generate in order to get a more detailed insight into the traffic flows also. As I said, we also buy data to get a deeper insight. And here on the left, you can see like the hotspots, the traffic hotspots from delivery operators. And also here you can see we decided to incorporate the zones, and also here the zones. So this is again a double check to not just get the positions of the stakeholders, but to also underline the arguments with the data that we can find or we can retrieve in the urban space. And on the right side, you can see that we analyze the land use, of course. Also here you can see the zones that are indicated that we implemented now in the two districts of Stuttgart. And it's also very important for us when we think about demand in the certain district, we always have to see how is the land actually used. So is it a building area? Is it a commercial area? Is it maybe also a retail trade or a mixed area? And we've noticed now that especially these mixed or residential areas are very important when it comes to new sustainable solutions within the delivery concepts. As my last slide, I just wanted to show you how we will be proceeding. So as I said, we started October, November. We started implementing the technology. Here you can see the sign that we also implemented at each zone, so everybody is informed that there's actually a new technology implemented. It's very important in this project. Then we have the accompanying research I already talked about. So we have the flyers that we hand to people, but we also conduct surveys with the operators and also the companies located near the zones. And then from April on, we will prepare the evaluation, or we will do the evaluation for the city and bring all data together from all the different technologies and see how the park and load technology, how the digital loading zones have changed the traffic flows and delivery processes within the urban space. Yes, and then I'm happy to hand over to my colleagues from Park and Load, who will now present the app and the digital loading zone management in more detail.
Thank you very much. Continue, Carles. ¿Puedes empezar,
Yes,
Carles?
yes, thank you very much for the presentation and for the invitation in the webinar. As Rebecca said, we are from Park and Load. We are a mobile application for the loading zones that we are deploying a pilot in the city of Stuttgart. And Simon will introduce you the presentation of the application and the platform. And afterwards, if you need, we can answer your questions. Simon?
Okay, thanks. Thank you to Rebecca and to Carlos. I'm going to start a video, which I'm going to share with you now. And share the screen. Okay, so that'll load up. Now, my presentation is going to start with a video, okay? So hopefully you will see very quickly in a couple of minutes exactly what it looks like from the user's point of view. Might take a little while. Anyway,
No, we don't see the video. Maybe we're just seeing the screen with the presentation.
yeah. Well, shall I try and show the video at the end then?
Yes, I will do it. Yeah, I will do it, Simon.
Okay. Well, here it's coming now. I think it's coming.
Yeah. Maybe I can share my screen, Simon, for the video. Yeah. I will do it. I will do it.
No, here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah. Well, just this is the video. Yes, so this was the video. Also, do you see the presentation? Simon, maybe you can do the presentation with, and I'm sharing my screen.
Thank you. So Barcelona, we started from Barcelona in 2017. Park and Load's mission is to digitally transform loading zones in cities to improve the services that the cities offer to the delivery players in the logistics sector. And we're a small company that started up. We are focusing on Europe. We're very pleased to have started the work in Germany with Fraunhofer and the city of Stuttgart. We're also starting a project in America, in the United States, with Texas Transportation Institute. And this networking with you in Mexico is very interesting for us to see if we can develop a project with you in the future. So the next slide. Okay, move the slide on. Sorry, and I've lost the. Sorry, I'm stuck on this slide now. Let me just. Okay, got a problem. Sorry, one moment, please. Okay, now it's working. So I have to share the slide again. No. Oh dear. Try again. So we've heard about the problems. Let's go on to the solution. What we have with our solution is a Bluetooth device attached to the sign, and the sign is digitized. That means it has a unique code. And what we have is that each driver has downloaded an application such that the Bluetooth sign, the Bluetooth device on the sign can communicate with the driver's mobile phone. And what it does is establish the conditions that are shown on the sign according to the type of driver that is delivering, according to other characteristics like the time of day, the location, and other conditions. In the video, you saw that the Bluetooth device, particularly, and the app for the drivers. There are two other parts of the system that we will discuss, the app for the parking agents and the online back office. Okay. In addition to that, there are a new development we've been working on, which is the click button, smart parking button. And we can provide you with this presentation and the video link after. So cities have not got the same starting condition for city logistics as for public transport. The services aren't regulated. It's not like buses coming to fixed stops and with a fixed number of vehicles, etc. Things are much more chaotic. And one of the key advantages that you should take from this presentation is that Bluetooth is the way to get very fast validation of a communication at the street, much faster than GPS, much more accurately, and this is the key advantage in establishing the registration of the users. So those are the components of the system, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what the drivers have to do. They have to establish a profile. They have to give their telephone number, and via this telephone number, it's only used to establish with a SMS message their user, their profile in the system. The other information that we take from them is the vehicle registration number that they use, and if they use different ones, they can put in different vehicle numbers. And there are other data that are asked for, but those are the two things which are required. And we heard from Rebecca about the cameras with the issues of privacy. Our system doesn't track the vehicle or the driver. It just takes those two pieces of information, meaning that it's not that difficult to resolve data privacy issues. So what the driver does is get close to the loading zone, and the Bluetooth detects that the vehicle is there, detects the app, and requests to the driver if they want to park in the zone. So they don't have to enter the digital number of the zone. They only have to confirm that they are intending to start, to basically check in, okay? So they check in and they get a green screen and it tells them the time they've got left. They get a reminder 5 minutes before time's up, an amber screen, so it's very clear for a person who's delivering parcels. They get a very clear, simple visual communication. And then red when the established regulated time is over. So this interface is very, very simple in a way, but it means that people find it easy to use and they then check out when they're ready to go. They don't like getting the red screens. So they do check out, and that means that, before the driver gets there, they might want to know if there are zones available. This information is available on the app as well, and as well as it's available in the back office. This information is very useful when you're starting the project, and as time goes on, people tend to find that they use it less, but I'll come back to that point. Although it's very easy to use, we were fortunate to have the project with Stuttgart to make it even simpler using this click button. It was in the video, and it means that just by clicking, when you're on the dashboard inside the vehicle, you can start the transaction for the delivery. Okay, so the other part that you saw possibly in the video is that there is a warden who also has an app. And just like the driver, when the warden gets close to the loading zone, they get another set of information. And basically they can see the vehicles. You can see on the screen there, 3 vehicles that are parked with different conditions. If the warden sees there are 4 vehicles parked, then the first job, it's very visual, easy to know that these are the numbers plates of the registered vehicles, and it's very easy for the warden to find the vehicle that isn't registered and to carry out enforcement. So you can make an easy enforcement and prioritize the way you carry out the enforcement. So it's very easy to actually make sure that the people have the service of using the street. This is what the back office looks like. And you have the number of transactions in operation. And very importantly, what's unique to our solution is that you have the time about how long the vehicles are operating on the street. So this is useful in real time for carrying out enforcement, but it's also very useful for planners to see which of the zones are most used in their city, which are less used, and to be able to plan better the use of urban space. So if we talk about who benefits from the system, okay, I think I was expecting another slide, but the data that I've showed you comes from a system operating in Spain, in a city in Spain since 2018. We are working in Germany with Fraunhofer, where we give a lot of importance to working with local partners. You can see from Rebecca's presentation how important it is for us to have collaborators to be able to do things in different cities around the world. We've done pilots in Ireland, and we have a big pilot starting soon in Paris. In terms of research, we work with various universities. Chalmers University from Sweden is currently presenting work about the first big deployment in Spain at the TRB Congress in the US. So what I was going to say about the benefits was that from my presentation, I hope you can see that we've made a big effort to make it very easy for the users, for the drivers, and for the enforcement wardens. But it's the city that benefits, because there's the high rotation of the space, meaning that they really do give a service to the people trying to make deliveries. They reduce the number of illegal parking actions and increase the traffic circulation. There's less congestion, and it's also a very efficient way of making the enforcement. So there are multiple benefits to this approach, but it's basically about trying to make our cities using spaces optimally. So probably with this system, we're going to be able to reduce the number of spaces that are used for deliveries, such that other uses like pedestrianisation, for cycling and other sustainable modes of traffic will be able to have more space as well. So there are various benefits for the different actors in the system, and that's basically it. Sorry about the problem at the start. Okay, so I stop sharing.
Thank you, Simon. I guess at the end of the video, you've been able to see the video and the presentation of Simon. Well, as you have seen, Park and Load is a mobile app very focused on smart loading zones. I don't know if you have some questions about the performance of the application. Emmeline, Claudia, Adan.
Yeah, I have a question, Carl. This is Adan. Okay, I saw that you choose Bluetooth instead of GPS. So what is that?
Yes, the reason is that in the streets of the cities there are several types of loading zones, and sometimes a park and load is not only used for loading zones, it's also used for other type of parking zones, and usually they are together. So you may have one type of loading zone for delivery, for instance, only for deliveries, and another type of loading zone for commercial vehicles or for private vehicles. So if they are together one behind the other, it's not possible to detect by GPS where you park, or if you're in the right side of the street or in the left side of the street. So with GPS, this is not possible. Then the solutions that are based on GPS, the user has to select on a map in the mobile application. They have to select the loading zone where they are with the code, and then maybe they have to go down the vehicle and see the code that is printed on the road sign. So with Bluetooth, we have a digital solution that is very quick. In just 3 seconds, you know exactly where you are, which type of loading zone are you in front of, and you can start the parking operation within your car. You don't have to go out and check out and check the code of the loading zone. As you know, I guess that in Mexico is the same, but in states or in the United States and in other countries, there is a zone code with 4 or 5 or 6 digits in each parking zone. So we avoid to see this code and to enter the code manually in the mobile application.
Okay, thank you. And one more, please. What about the parking button?
Yes.
Do you have this as a package with the app, or you have to buy it separate?
You can buy it separate. It's not a package with the app. It's just optional, because if you are a heavy user, this is a very convenient gadget for you, because if you park 10 times per day, you just have to click the button and you start the proof of parking for the loading zone. So this is for heavy users. But in some cities, like in Stuttgart or in Paris, the city, they buy, let's say in the pilots, 200, 300 smart parking buttons, and they distribute the buttons among the more frequent users or the delivery vehicles of UPS and DHL and this type of companies.
Okay, thank you.
The price of the button, it's already in Amazon. It's about $24 or $20 per button. So it's something that if the user, your driver, they want to buy it, they can do it.
Thank you.
So, any more questions maybe about the solution?
What about the data, Carlos? The data
Sorry?
that you get. What about the data? The data that you get to the app is safe. Is safe the app?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. We don't sell data at all. Data is stored just for the proof, as a proof of parking in the loading zone. The parking enforcement agent, they can check if the license plate of that vehicle has a valid proof of parking, but that's the aim of the data. On the other hand, the big data of the solution, it's always anonymized. So if we do some statistics, it's always with an anonymous way, and it's not possible to detect the name or any personal data of the users. In addition to this, park and load, we only use the mobile phone of the driver. So we don't use the email or the name or any other personal data of the driver. So we just have the license plate and the mobile phone number, and that's all. And with this information, we can regulate and control the loading zones, and also the city can play with all the data, and they can also improve the number of loading zones, the performance, sorry, of the loading zones and the optimization. As Simon and Rebecca said, when you start using the app, you detect that maybe you don't really need more loading zones. So you just need to make a better use or an optimum use of the loading zones in the city.
Okay, you know about the infrastructures in the cities. How important is the infrastructure? For example, in Mexico, we don't have the same like Stuttgart or another European cities in order to the logistics processes work fine. You know, we have a lot of problems with the infrastructure in the streets and the cities. So can we manage, for some reason here in the hackathon, maybe we will work something like this. But what about the infrastructure of our cities?
With infrastructure, you mean the pavement of the streets and the road signs and all these type of things, or...
Yeah, that
yes.
that.
Yes. It's a good question, but with Park and Load, you just need to install a new road sign on the street. So with a Bluetooth device, this is a demo sign. But you just need to install a road sign, and you don't need to install a sensor on the street and make a hole in the street, things like that. So it's a very convenient way to regulate and control the public parking spaces. You don't really need the special. It's just standard components, and if you don't have the infrastructure with the pavement, you don't really need it. You just need a road sign, and of course a regulation in the city by law or a traffic ordinance that regulates the parking in the loading zones, of course.
The beacon itself, its battery can last for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
So we have not replaced any of the Bluetooth devices yet. Okay. The energy, telecommunications energy, is taken from the phone, but drivers don't notice. It's not a heavy use of their battery either. It's not a problem for acceptance. You saw DHL operating in the video. Operators are very happy with this device. So you don't need to install anything other than the sign on the back and the device on the back of the sign. We were, I think Rebecca can say a little bit how fast you can install this system once you have designed the sign to comply with the regulations that you want to test. That's the heart of it. But the infrastructure is not a big problem here.
Yes, I can also underline that. So the infrastructure is really not the problem. It's actually the regulations. It's the regulations by the municipalities. It's the regulations by the state, by your country in the end. Those are actually the points that we spend a lot of time on, and all the stakeholders involved deciding of implementing new technologies in urban space. That's the hard, long part in that sense, at least in Germany.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I agree with them. In all the countries, the main problem is the public regulation of the parking spaces in the streets, because for the commercial vehicles and for the logistics, there is no regulation, or it's not mandatory to use a mobile application in this type of parking spaces.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emeline, Claudia, I don't know if you need to do you have any question about the solution from Rebecca or from Park and Load?
Well, I don't have any question. I don't know if Emeline or someone else have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's okay.
There was a question about the safety or security aspect. Yes. And again, what we're talking about is a Bluetooth device attached to the back of the sign. People always ask, won't they be vandalized? Won't they be taken? They're not very expensive, 40 euros or $40. And so far, that problem hasn't happened. So you don't really see them because they're on the back of these signs, which people are used to seeing the signs. So it's not like it's an expensive camera that somebody can steal. So it's always a problem, but it's not a big problem.
Simon, where did you put the beacons?
Yes, they are behind the road sign. In Europe, the road signs, they have like a guy behind the road sign, and we just fix the Bluetooth device within a 1967 box attached to that road sign. I think that in America the road signs are a little bit more simple, and maybe we would need to attach the Bluetooth to the pole of the road sign, or to somehow create a space in the road sign to attach the Bluetooth. But it doesn't used to be a problem at all. And as Simon said, there is no security problem with that in the locations where we are at all. No.
I have a question, Rebecca.
Yes.
You talk about the free data, open data.
Mhm.
In your country, they have in one website, or you have to ask for them? Because here in Mexico, we don't have that kind of open data. We have to do ourselves. So
Yeah, so actually we have like this open science, open data charter. We can also say in Europe actually that most governments, research institutions want to make data more accessible to the public. So we actually, for us, we simply go online, we search all kind of sites of institution and governmental institutions, and also statistical institutions, and see the data that is retrievable for us. So it's actually also a kind of political thrive. It's a political decision for the actors to say, okay, we make this data available to the public, and we see all these projects occurring because students, researchers, everybody around the country is working with this data and trying to merge it with their specific, maybe also invested data. So we do have here pretty different situations, I guess, then, because it's actually really kind of a political strategy also.
okay, thank you.
I mean, maybe I can add in that sense that it takes research, it takes scientific actors to show political stakeholders that it's important to generate open data. It's important to make data accessible to the public. And it is also a great help to us research institutes, because, as I said again, we do buy some data. We buy vehicle data, of course. There's a lot of value behind that data. But with everything else, pollution data and so on, this is all open data. And it does take a kind of process to make, to show these stakeholders that it's worth it to make them publicly available.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Maybe I can just add one thing about what I found in Spanish cities. And then there's a question also about sort of legislation to take the solution into the skyscrapers. There are some cities that have tried to improve legislation for building developments. I think in Barcelona there is an effort for this. Barcelona has also done something called basic data for mobility, basic mobility data. And this is a selection of municipal indicators about the conditions in the city. quite a few cities have followed this. And when it comes to the freight issue, the number of zones for unloading on the street, and this is normally the only data that you find about the city. So our solution is also a way of engaging with those cities that have started to work on city logistics and have some idea of where they've actually painted the street and made some zones. But they generally don't know anything about the use that's being made of those zones. And that's where digital solutions can help.
Simon, so I guess when the 5G technology is coming, so this is better for your app, isn't it?
Yes, well, it may help with 5G technology. Of course, it's much better because there's also more precision in the more accuracy in the mobile phones, and also it's much faster. But it's important to say that when we are talking about a solution for the loading zones of a city, it must be a universal solution. I mean, it must be a solution that anyone can use it. It's not only for people with the latest smartphones or with the more expensive ones. It's just a solution for everyone, and everyone should be able to open or to start a proof of parking in the loading zone. So the important thing of park and load is that it's just and the Bluetooth technology is that it's compatible with any smartphone in the market. This is very important when you are talking about a solution for the whole city.
Especially in our countries.
Yes, well, maybe Adan, also in our countries, but also in Spain or in Europe. I mean, not everyone has the latest smartphone. And when you are talking with a logistic driver, maybe he has a 5 years old mobile phone. So we need to find a solution valid for everyone. Otherwise, you cannot state from the municipality or from the city, you cannot state that it's mandatory to use a mobile app, because it must be a solution, a universal solution valid for everyone.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you. Because do you have some experiences in Mexico about solutions for the loading zones, or do you have something? Do you have any project about loading zones in Mexico? Adan or Emeline or Claudia?
No, we don't. That's why we are doing this hackathon.
Uh-huh.
So we have different strategies to do that from the government, but they are working on it. They are not already there.
Okay. And are you planning to do some type of pilots or projects, trials, or this type of projects in Mexico?
Yes, we do. It's very important because, in Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara, we have a lot of problems with the traffic jams, and it's important for us in order to get a smart city. So if we are working on it with this hackathon, and if you have something like you have now, it's gonna be great for the participants to take a look on your app.
Excellent. Okay, very good.
Thank you very much. We are in time now, and then if you have more questions, please write us, and then we can share with all participants. Oh, many thanks, Rebecca, Simon, and Carles, for this time, for share your experiences, and it's a very interesting a project that you have, and hope we have in contact next.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye, and we can close now the talk. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Karen.
Bye.
Bye.